Has there been any time when somebody tried coming in between your craft and you?
Yes, severally. Anytime someone asks me, what else do you do? As you coming between me and my craft.
Okay.
What else am I supposed to do? Because no one asks a doctor, what else do you do?
Well, it's like people expect you to be doing something else and then doing acting on the side.
Storytelling is what I love doing, and I think it's what I'll continue doing to the end.
In this episode, I hung out with Nyakundi Isaboke, and we talked about a lot, including what it takes to become as accomplished as he is.
When you're growing up as a kid, you don't know you're growing up in Kibra. You just know your home, because you have friends, you eat, you play, you go to school. When you're older and you hear people's perspectives of the place that you grew up in, is when you're like, oh, okay, so that's how you think of home.
Nyakundi is an internationally renowned TV, film, and stage actor, and a filmmaker who was featured in several internationally acclaimed roles for which he has received multiple awards for.
And even accomplished producers and directors worldwide still have actors that they prefer working with.
In this episode, we talked about the art of film and storytelling, and Nyakundi's wisdom and laughter are both inspirational and infectious. You will leave this episode wanting to know more from him. Listen in.
Because at the end of the day, art is incomplete without an audience.
My name is Joab, and today I'm hanging out with Ian. You go with Ian, right?
And nowadays is Nyakundi Isaboke, bro.
You changed from Ian?
Yeah, we ditched those colonial names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, is that your official name now?
Yeah, like the names on my ID or even my passport, Ian Nyakundi Isaboke. But mostly now I just go by Nyakundi Isaboke.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
But my friends still call me Yano.
Oh,
for some strange reasons,
yeah.
short form, Ian is Yano. So yeah.
It's actually longer than Ian, though. But
so yeah, that's the irony of it all.
Yeah, But that's cool, man.
Now, the last time I saw you is when you were doing your farewell party.
Yeah, my farewell party.
In Ngumo, yeah.
Yes.
That's the last time I saw you.
It's been a while, man.
It's been forever, man. What?
Yeah, man. But I think we talked sometime. There's a time you sent me a script for a short film.
Yeah, we talk online sometimes. Yeah, remember.
Yeah.
The short film.
Yeah.
What? It's like 5 years ago.
Probably 5 years ago, something like that. Yeah. But I never got to shoot it because I couldn't find actors. The guys who said that they'd act, they showed up. Well, they didn't really show up, but I was having a chat with them and I realized, man, they can't do it.
These guys are not actors.
Yeah.
Go through the proper channels and get guild actors to do it. Look for monies, man. Get guild actors to do the job.
Yeah, man. Maybe one day we'll get there and we'll see how that goes.
Inshallah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me ask you something. I mean, you've been in this craft for a while now.
Yeah. 12 years now.
12 years.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't, know what drives you, what would you say is the reason why you are committed to what you do?
I feel like it's the craft that I understand most, and it's what puts food on my table. And I feel like sometimes you have to respect whatever it is that puts food on your table.
Yeah.
So, and you can't come between a man and his bread.
Yeah.
So nothing can come between me and this craft because survival is the fittest, and we have to.
Has there been any time when somebody tried coming in between your craft and you?
Yes, severally. Anytime someone asks me, what else do you do? As you coming between me and my craft. Because what else am I supposed to do? Because no one asks a doctor, what else do you do?
Well, it's like people expect you to be doing something else and then doing acting on the side.
They usually think like acting is just a hobby, it's just something you do on the side. Like maybe you're an entrepreneur somewhere, and maybe we do entrepreneurial stuff, but acting is the main gig. This is what actually puts food on the table, pays the bills for most of the time. And if it's not acting, it's indirectly a gig that was brought because I'm acting, That's so you have to respect it 100%.
Yeah, man. You're such an inspiration because I think you stuck to the same craft for a very long time. And I think that even when at times it never seemed like, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, you still stuck to it, man.
You just still have to crawl back. You see that glimmer of light at the end and you say, you see that light, that's where I'm going. And I can say I've I've had my fair share of successes. I've been in really good projects.
Yeah.
I've been in sometimes well-paying jobs.
Yeah.
That have managed to keep me afloat and keep me in the pursuit of these passions and stuff. But there are other people who fell by the wayside, because even in other jobs in this country, like even if you're a doctor, man, like even being a doctor is not even lucrative anymore.
Yeah.
Being an engineer, being whatever it is who knows you? It's not even about who do you know, because 1,000 people could be knowing the same person, and this person only has like 2 opportunities, and out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. So if 2 people are there and he sees them every day, and these people are qualified, these people will probably get to know the job, to get the job. So I've come to realize that it's more about the relationships that you keep. And just being in people's faces, because they'll be like, we have a job, you guys, you should audition Isaboke. Call Isaboke, so that we see if I'm not available, then the opportunity to move on to the next person. Evo your design. So I just had to keep showing up.
Yeah, man.
Because kuna watu wengine, they've gone into marketing, they've gone into events. Others have gone back to school to see if they could pursue other things in general. But I just decided that this is it. Because at the end of the day, I don't have many lives to live. It's this one. And this is that one thing that I actually want to do in this life. And if there was something else that I was supposed to do, if I had a purpose that hasn't been that hasn't been shown to me, then I'll still pursue this thing that I'm passionate about. So storytelling is what I love doing, and I think it's what I'll continue doing to the end. Hopefully I'll become one of those millionaires who has access to like a private island, so I can be sipping my cocktails as I look at the sunset in my heydays, because I don't want to work forever,
of course.
So like, one of my favorite actors was asked, Joey from Friends. He was asked in a certain interview, like, what do you like doing? And he said, actually, he doesn't like doing anything. If it was up to him, he would just sit around and just live life, eat, sleep, repeat, and stuff like that. And personally, if it was possible up to me, I like to do the same, man. I just like to wake up, bask in the sun, that morning sun, eat good food, eat my platters, my pudding, drink water, spring water to be precise, at home, and just stand on the porch and watch over my acres of land. Jioni kifika, drink my uji or tea, and you see, tomorrow again, because man, I don't want to be exerting myself.
True. Don't we all, man?
See, like, we all wish we had trust funds, don't we?
We all do, man.
Life would be easier, brother.
Folks, if you're new to this show, this is the Couch Connect. Over here, I hang out with folks like Ian, and we talk about the science and art in everyday life experiences. So do subscribe to this channel and like this pod, and remember to tell your friends to tell their friends. And my commitment to you is that I will continue becoming better at what I do. I'll ask better questions. I'll get great guests. And we'll continue doing this together. Today's discussion is going to be about filmmaking and storytelling. And one thing that I've learned is that filmmaking is a scientific illusion. And maybe this is what Ian will break down to us today. So, Ian, you told me here a bunch of things about your process into storytelling, but you told me something that you've been in a bunch of well-paying projects
by Kenyan standards.
So let's talk about those. What would you say were your best-paying projects?
I don't want to mention names, because some other producers might feel like the money I paid Isaboke didn't make sense. But I've been in really good projects. Projects that have been seen widely, that have been like really well received. And as an actor, that's what you want. You want to be in projects that are being seen, because at the end of the day, art is incomplete without an audience.
True.
And I've been fortunate enough to have that audience in numbers, and it's beautiful, because that now opens more avenues for you to work. Because even if you want to build a house, you look for a contractor who people trust.
True.
So if you're a producer and you want to contact an actor to do your work, you want to look for someone who probably has a certain level of credibility in the industry, and someone that is maybe the audiences are receptive to, because sometimes audiences can be hostile.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, yo, we probably don't know this person, we don't want to see this person.
Yeah.
But that's very rarely. Very rarely.
Yeah.
But most of the times producers have been able to tap me and tell me like, come through, do this, because it's also by virtue of the fact that I've stuck around, and anytime I don't have a TV job, you'll find me in theater doing theater, because at the end of the day, it's one and the same.
Yeah.
It's just different mediums, but the craft that you apply is almost the same. One demands a little bit more of you than the other, but it's more the same, more or less the same thing.
So in order for you to get into this, you say that as you know, some of the times the producers have been reaching out to you. So is that always the process? You know, producers reaching out to actors, or sometimes do you have to audition?
Oh no, not sometimes. Always. Like even if a producer reaches out to you, sometimes it's like telling a casting director that I'd prefer to have this and this actors on board.
Yeah.
So if you can get them and audition them and place them against other people, because people think like there's no opportunities, but it's an open field. Anyone can run in, but you have to know the corners that you run in from. You know, because casting directors will put out a call. They'll check out a bunch of actors and see who fits the role. But at the end of the day, most of the time, the producers will be like, yeah, okay, we've seen these people. Maybe you could fit them in these other roles, but there are roles that producers most of the time, or even writers and directors, have in mind.
Yeah.
And even like accomplished producers and directors worldwide still have actors that they prefer working with. Because if you see Scorsese, he's always working with DiCaprio or Bobby. You see, if it's Tarantino, he's either working with Samuel L., Christoph Waltz, and such. And it's collaboration. And most of the time, if you want to collaborate, you usually collaborate with people you actually trust in their craft, and people you've actually worked with, and there's a certain chemistry.
Yeah.
So true. I mean, anyone can come, but it's up to the casting directors to present a shortlist to the directors, and it's up to the director most of the time to choose who they want to work with. But sometimes the final say lies with the producer, sometimes it lies with the director.
So it's not like the producer can just say that I really want to work with Nyakundi.
Or sometimes if the producer has the final say, the producer can say like, this is the person I want to work with.
Okay.
And the director has to go with that. But most of the time, the director has the artistic freedom.
Okay, I see.
It also depends if it's a director Kichwangumu who decides like, this is what I want, and I want it exactly as I want it.
Yeah.
Because there's those directors. And there's also producers who are just pushovers who will be like, no, I said what I said, and this is the cast that I want to work with. So there's that,
So I want to understand, what gets you where you are right now. I've watched a bunch of your interviews that you've given before. I'm a great friend and a great fan of Mwafrika, Niko Nini, and he was actually seated where you were seated yesterday, and we had a chat about many things. We didn't get to chat about you, but I wanted to ask him questions about you, or your interviewing experience with him. And I've watched you in a couple of other podcasts or TV shows. So when I try research my guests, I try ask questions that haven't been asked before. But then again, I try making them as comfortable as possible. So I hope you'll be as comfortable as possible in answering the questions I'm going to be asking you today.
To understand, I'm as shameless as they come.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that you've said that you grew up in Kibra, right? I feel like, growing up, I had this picture of what Kibra was. I got exposed to Kibra when I was older, when I was almost in my 20s. But the picture that I had of what Kibra was before was, a place that was probably prone to crime, that if a child grew up in Kibra, most likely they would be, prone to get into crime. But somehow some folks are able to stay out of trouble. And I think that you're one of those people who stay out of trouble. So how do you think Kibra, or the environment around Kibra, influenced your vision in who you wanted to be?
I mean, first of all, I can say thanks to my parents. Like, I really had present parents and relatives, so they constantly kept us in check.
Yeah.
And when you're growing up as a kid, you don't know like you're growing up in Kibra. You just know you're home, because you have friends, you eat, you play, you go to school. For those who go to church, they go to church, and all those other activities. So like when you're older and you hear people's perspectives of the place that you grew up in, is when you're like, oh, okay, so that's how you think of home, you see. But growing up, you don't know, like, oh, we are in Kibra, or we live in this kind of houses. No, it's never like that. But until you grow up and come to this other side of town where people speak of Kibra, is where you're like, oh, okay, I understand. But talking about crime, as in kleptomania is a disease even among the rich, you know. So
True.
A thief can come from a well-off family, the same way drug addicts can come from any side of the tracks, poor, rich, middle class. So it's all a matter of perspective. And growing up, I had a very adventurous childhood, because we'd go swim in the river, uko Nairobi river. It was cleaner then, like not a lot of sewage. Ilikuwa napita huko Kiawa, huko Tiende ikiteremka hivi, like we near Roland, behind Roland, there was an entrapment of water. We'd go swim there. We'd go ride bearing. Bearing is we had skateboards that were made out of wood, and the bearing, you know, bearings.
Yeah, I know bearings.
We'll make skateboards out of it to go slide. The only tarmac road that was in Kibra then was in Otiende. So we'd probably go all the way up to Langata. Right now it's Langata constituency. We'll go there, take turns. If one person had a bike, we'd take turns riding it. If we had a ball, and if someone was stingy with their ball, we'd make our own ball out of papers. Like, adventure was in full, and we grew up outside. We improvised. Tulicheza bano, tulicheza ball. Tulifanya vitu mob. So I can never say I knew where I was until I got out of there. Ndo nikaanza kuambiwa Kibra inakuanga ABCD. Of course you'd see your challenges, but with time your challenges become part of your life, and you find ways to navigate them and make it normal day until you move out of there and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But Kibra really inspired the person that I am today, because I've grown up most of my life there. Of course I've grown up partly in Kisii, because I'm Kisii, so I mean, hell, so most of us go for most major holidays back there, and we get to interact with the folk there. Whenever my mom was at one point transferred to Kisumu when I was in high school, so I spent like one or two years there before I moved back to Nairobi, because Nairobi is the only place I actually know how to hustle in, unless I switch crafts. Itakuwa ngumu. So even like to tell you how I got to fall in love with film is in Kibra, when we went to watch movies in those kibandas. Then a movie could be 2 shillings. With 5 shillings you'd watch 2 movies, and if you came in the middle of this movie, that means you could stay till the end and watch the next one in full.
For free.
So for free. So because now I didn't see the beginning of this, that would be our argument. I didn't see this one start, so I'll stay till the end, and then I sit for the other one. And I remember watching the Titanic, and I turned to my older brother, and I asked him, man, how did they make this movie? When they went into the water and they filmed people dying and the ship capsizing. I remember thinking that too. Yeah, what happened? And my brother didn't know better, but he was older and he had heard the word camera tricks. So all he could tell me was like, bro, those are just camera tricks. Okay, for the longest time I was like, wow, camera tricks. I'd like to know how they did that. So I think that's where my curiosity in film started coming in. And also the fact that I really watched a lot of kung fu movies, you know, and the Chuck Norris movies back then, Delta Force, Rambo, Commando, you know, like Van Damme. And after the movie, we'd go outside and try to recreate whatever had happened in the movies. And I think that's how I fell in love with this craft, because I realized I wasn't the only one who was mesmerized by the movie magic. Because a day or 2 or 3 days after we saw a movie, we'd be reenacting those scenes in school, at home for the longest time, until we went to watch another movie. So I think that's where I fell in love with the craft of movie making and the whole thing. So
interestingly, you know, my family didn't own a TV, or we owned a TV, but we didn't have electricity, and so the TV would only be be turned on during national celebrations. You know,
can you shoot to the battery? Like,
yeah, I think we had a generator, and the generator would only be turned on then, and then we'd use the generator to watch the TV on, you know, Madaraka Day or Kenyatta Day or stuff like that, and watch the president marching and stuff like that. And so stories of like you know, shows like Tausi and you know, wrestling and you know, SmackDown,
Tahamaki,
all those things, I used to hear them in school from my classmates, but then I had to sound cool.
I saw that.
Yeah. And so when I see people like Ken Ambani now, I mean, he's older now and is a friend of mine, but I've never told him that, you know, that that I used to hear stories about you and I'd pretend
that I know you.
That I know you.
I mean, I understand, because you couldn't be the only one left out. Because I even remember before my dad bought a TV, because my dad bought a TV in 1998, or was it 99? But we'd only watch the TV after he came home.
Okay. During the day it was off.
Yeah, because he was like, this is my TV.
Yeah.
When I come home is when I turn it on. Luckily, my dad actually loved watching TV. So anytime he'd come home, he'd turn it on. So we'd watch the news, the show immediately after the news. But the TV was in black and white. And then we'll go to school and then, did you see that red car? Did you see that blue car? And you're there like, yo, I don't even know the color of that car. I don't remember anything, but at least I saw it. But so when I was going to school, that for wrestling, Raw, SmackDown, and all that, I got to see them, and I really loved watching TV. And I'd stay up late to watch movies on TCM. Remember, like TCM,
Turner Classic Movies.
So I'd stay up late to watch TCM movies. I didn't know what I was watching most of the time, but it was really intriguing to me. And I remember even negotiating with my mom that let me stay up late so I could open for dad when he comes home. Because my mom used to wake up early because she was a day laborer then, and most of the time Alkona took her home at around 5 or 6 in the morning. So she'd go to sleep at around 9. So if my dad wasn't home by 9, we'd make a wager if I wasn't going to school the next day. And mostly this only happened on Fridays. And we're like, oh, okay, now you can wait for your dad when he comes, serve him food. So I'd take this advantage to watch Turner Classic Movies, because my dad would be the bar next door having a beer or two with his friends, and he'd probably come home at around 11 to 12, because about pay he also had to wake up to work the following day. So I'd take advantage and watch these movies, and every day I just got intrigued by the magical storytelling. Is how can you just tell everyday stories and make them very engaging like that, and play with my emotions like that, and just mesmerize me in general. I was like, I mean, how can everyday life just look that alluring just because it's in a magic box? So all that just contributed into the wow factor that made me like fall in love with this craft in general.
You know, interestingly enough, the way that you know, our brain works is very interesting. So in neuroscience, there's this thing that they call mirroring of neurons, whereby real life in babies or in young kids, real life experiences and stories activate the same regions of the brain in such a way that, you know, as a young person, the same way you'd react to a real situation is the same way you'd react to a story or a movie. And, you know, in your case here, you know, when you're watching a movie and, you know, your emotions are being activated, and you're even thinking that the Titanic is real. Is real. It's because, you know, when we are kids, you know, that's how we learn, you know, or the same regions are activated. And I think that is very interesting, because the same things used to happen to me. And when you talked about you know, Rambo and Kung Fu
Commando,
and there was this other guy,
Chuck Norris
and Jackie Chan or something.
There's Jackie Chan, Jet Li.
You know, I used to believe that those guys used to do those things that they were doing, like in real life. You know, like if someone was shot dead, I used to think that they actually died.
Until you see them in another movie and you're like, but this guy died in that other movie. And then that's when you're like, it's camera tricks. It's not for real. But I'd still fight with that reality. Like, yo, that guy died in that movie. There's no way this guy is in this movie unless this movie was done before that movie. And then he also dies in this movie. And you're like, what the hell is happening? that really intrigued me. But when you're saying that mirror neuron thingy is, I understand, because even my parents, like my dad and my mom are really good storytellers.
Yeah.
My dad was that flamboyant, flashy storyteller, but my mom is that mellow, calm storyteller, you know.
Yeah.
Like she'd rope you in slowly with words, but my dad was all about the flair and the spectacle and the gestures and the body language. So for me, like story, if someone or anything is telling a good story, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there, I'm listening. I don't mind, I don't care, I'm there, I'm listening. Just tell me the story as long as it has a good hook.
Yep.
It has a good middle, and the end is you have the proper punchline.
Yep.
I'm hooked.
Is that how a story is told?
I feel like you can tell a story anyhow you feel like, and I don't feel like anyone should really be pushed to a specific corner of storytelling.
Yeah.
Because I understand school has to have a format.
Yeah.
School has to rely on the syllabus, but you can tell a story in reverse.
Yeah.
You can tell a story from the middle to the front to the end. You can tell a story from the middle to the beginning and then circle to the end.
Yeah.
You can see how Nolan does his stories. You can see how who else when you study Akina Kurosawa, how they used to do their stories, and like people just do stories differently, and I feel like there's no particular way to do something as long as you feel the conviction to do it.
Yeah.
However if as long as it makes sense to you, the storyteller, the audience interpretation is open to the audience, because it's like art. It's like an abstract art, you see, because we've seen people create abstract art and give it their own interpretation. But when an audience comes in a gallery and they look at it, they're like, this painting makes me feel this way.
Yeah.
Everyone has an opportunity to give their own interpretation to a specific story. And you know, now we're living in a very sensitive society. Everyone feels like, oh, you shouldn't tell the story this way and this way, you shouldn't cover this and this topic. I feel like story is free domain.
Yep.
You can tell whatever story you feel like you want to tell, as long as you have the conviction to tell it, and tell it however you want to tell it. And it's open to criticism, but at the end of the day, your opinion is your opinion, and the next person's opinion is their opinion. So that's how I feel about story. Tell it however you want it to tell it, as long as it makes sense to you, you'll find an audience.
I feel like you are a very good storyteller. And do you think that the fact that you know that you need a good hook makes you a good storyteller?
I feel like that's an undoing sometimes.
Okay.
Because do you have a cousin or an uncle in the village who tells really good stories? Like anytime they open their mouths to talk, everyone is listening.
Yep, I got an uncle like that.
I have plenty of uncles like that. But do you think these people know, like, this is a hook?
Of course
this
they
is
don't.
the middle, and this is not the sinker. They don't.
They don't know that.
They just tell a story. They know how to tell a good story. But now there's the science and the art of now packaging it for an audience, in a medium for an audience. There's rules for that. But also, who said you have to follow those rules? As long as you follow the format of the medium it is that you're using, you can tell a story however.
True.
Because I feel like it's natural instinct from the days of old, when we used to do oral literature. Like, if I tell you a story, or if you tell me a story, chances are you'll probably tell it to Mato differently. You know, but at the end of the day, the information that we're trying to pass is the same. Because we'll stick to the facts and stick to the kidogo exaggerations to pass the message across. But the message will get across. It's just the arrival. Right now, I always say that, like, there's plenty of ways to get to Yaya Center.
True.
Like, for right now, I always say there's like 3 ways to get to Yaya. We can go to Tao through Ring Road and come back this way. We can go to this Kawangware Road down here and come this way, and we can just walk out and go this way straight. So there's plenty ways to skin that fish. I must skin that cat. True. But knowing could be an undoing, because maybe every time I tell a story, I could try to be conscious of the hook, and then the middle, and then the punchline. It's the same way, like, even rap has, is it like a metaphor and then punchline? There's a setup, metaphor, punchline. Everything, even a podcast is setup, metaphor, punchline. Even a film setup, metaphor, punchline. A reel on Instagram is setup, metaphor, punchline. A joke is setup, metaphor, punchline. Everything. That's like that's the fundamental of a story.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes it's an undoing, because
if you try following that,
but if you're just trying to tell a good story, because the first rule of writing a story is write what you know. Because with something that you know, you don't have to think about the setup, the metaphor, and the punchline, because it already exists. It is there.
When you are, I want to take you back to when you are in elementary school, in primary school, and you're probably in class 2 or class 1, and kids are there saying what they want to be in the future. I know you've watched all these movies probably at this time, or maybe not, but what did you used to say you want to be at that age when everybody was saying what they wanted to be?
For the longest time, I had listened to the story of Ben Carson. Because teachers used to, I think at around that time that book had come out. I don't know how long ago that Gifted Hands. And teachers were talking about, there's this surgeon, Ben Carson. Our parents would talk about Ben Carson all the time. And at some point I realized actually, maybe I want to be a neurosurgeon. I don't know. But let's see, because my grades were good. I was usually number 1, 2, 3. If I was doing badly, I'd be top 7. But I was still a top performing student. So, and back then the top careers were you either a doctor, an engineer, a pilot, a lawyer. I was like, let's stick with do a doctor and then proceed to then proceed to neurosurgery. I was dreaming big, like thinking big. Now I was dreaming big over there. I was like, this is it, man. This is what I want to do. So for the longest time, because I knew that smart kids were supposed to be doctors, that's what I wanted to be. And then it got to a point I realized I did like talking, and I loved the sound of my voice. Teachers were like, lawyers like talking. I was like, maybe I should be a lawyer. But lawyer didn't last long, because then I discovered what I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be on TV. And back then I didn't know what actors went to school to study. So I was like, I want to be a journalist, because I knew I wanted to find my way to TV and do these great things that I'm seeing these other people doing. And luckily my dad loved watching movies, so we'd watch movies together and be there and be like, oh, okay, let me see what this is all about and stuff. And for me it felt like on telly is where I belonged, and being a journalist is what I'm probably supposed to do, until the day I knew I don't have to go study journalism to be on TV. I can actually join a theater troupe, perform with them, get to learn the ropes. And then while I was performing these theater troupes, I realized, you can go for auditions for TV. So I told them, let me go try my chance on telly. And luckily, on my first ever audition, I was picked. And I knew okay, it was an extra, but it was an extra with lines. I was speaking, I was a watchman. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's keep doing. So I kept showing up for auditions over and over again. In my lifetime, I can say I've done, over the last 12 years, I've been to over 1,000 auditions.
That's a big number.
I've been to over 1,000 auditions. And for most auditions that I showed up, sikupata. But I felt like the ones that I got are the ones that really mattered.
Let's talk about when you were not picked for a role when you auditioned. How did that feel? For
the auditions that I wasn't picked for, in the beginning, I felt a certain type of way about it. I felt like a deep rejection, But with time, with the people that you audition with, because for every audition you go, you probably find a seasoned actor who'll be like, don't take it personally. Maybe the job wasn't just yours. The opportunity wasn't yours. Maybe you didn't fit the role. Because sometimes I didn't know better. We'd show up for even roles that required older people. And we didn't know better, but we just wanted to be there. And we'd act, and some of these casting directors will take notice of you and keep you in their database. And next time there's something that fits you, they'll call you and be like, Isaboke, come audition for this one. So, and we kept showing up. But rejection always feels like rejection until you understand it. And then you're like, okay, cool. Like, not every opportunity is going to land on my lap.
Can you remember the very first time you were rejected from a role?
No, because most of the time you just don't get the call.
Okay.
And then you see the project on TV and you're like, these guys are already shooting and they didn't call me.
So how did that feel? If you can remember the very first one, how did that feel?
It felt like the first time I approached a girl and she was like, like, rejection is you see that same feeling you feel.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's like it's like the girl you wanted has told you, say, this can't happen and you can't. And you're like, oh, okay, you feel a little bit gutted, but it's gutting.
Yeah.
Because now combining with the fact that now this is your source of livelihood, and they're rejecting you, and you're like, what? Should I go do something else? And then you realize like rejection is everywhere. Even graduates go for interviews and they get rejected every time. Like this other day, like they were looking for hospitality staff at Ole Sereni, and there was like 2,000 people coming in, and they only had like 12 positions.
Yeah.
All these other people
means 1,000, almost 1,900 and what? 88? Yeah, going to be rejected.
You know, so like then I came to realize like rejection ni kitu ya kawaida. It's there, it exists. Like people get rejected every other day, but you still never get over it.
Yeah.
You still feel like, now I know better. I come for roles that I feel like I deserve.
Yeah.
Or you hear like closed auditions and you're like, why wasn't I called for that closed audition? Like that rejection comes in very, very.
What is a closed audition?
A closed audition is when like there's no public call.
Yeah.
A director or a producer gives a select list of actors that they want to audition for that role.
Yeah.
And like it's cutting through the shaft, you know.
Is it possible to find some chaff or people who are not seasoned actors being called for this private audition? What do you call them?
Closed audition.
Closed audition.
All the time.
Okay.
It's maybe you've come through for like an audition for this casting director.
Yeah.
And when the director or the producer proposes some people, even him or her as a casting director, they'd be like, you know what? Let's also add this and this person.
Yeah.
There, because you might show up for closed audition and be like, hey, Joab is relatively new in the industry. How did he find out about this? And then you realize like Joab is actually good at what he does, and you just don't know it yet because maybe you haven't had an opportunity to work alongside Joab.
Yeah.
But when you go inside to do that audition together, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I feel the energy. Like you probably know your material, you know your stuff, and good stuff. Yeah.
So if you were to audition for a role, you don't get the role, and then somebody else gets the role, and you know this person, how does that feel?
Again, over the time, like most of my close friends are actors.
Yeah. So let's go to the first days.
Or the first days, it would be like, Connie, what does this person have that I don't? And every time you have to walk around with the idea that you are the best at what you do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the story of don't pat yourself or don't give yourself props. No, you have to believe in yourself, and believing in yourself is you have to be proud of what you do, proud of what you know and what you are. So it was always like, what does this person have that I don't? And I mean, you couldn't put it together because at the top of your mind you're like, you're the best person the best actor for this role to ever walk this earth. And that was on period. But over time you make friendships in the industry and you realize like, now most of my friends are like we're in the same age group, like it's like 2 + 2 - 3 - 3 - 4, and most of the time you all get clustered in the same job group. So if it's a casting call, chances are most of you are going to compete for the same job. So, and if you're competing for the same job, that means chances are who's going to get that job. Or sometimes you don't know who's going to get the job, but your friends are good. All of you are equally matched for this job. So so most of the time we show up is like, may the best man win. And 2-3 days down the line, when you make a call to one of your friends, you'll know who has the job. Itauma kidogo. You tena utajiangalia uulize, what exactly is it that I don't have that this other person has? But with time you learn the bitter pill becomes easier to swallow.
When your friends end up getting this role, I'm just imagining, has it ever created any sort of enmity between you and another actor who you feel like maybe they probably went, behind the scenes and, said something to the casting director?
Oh yeah, that's your problem. Whatever it is you did to get the job. Of course, I'll feel the animosity at the initial stages of like mbona si mimi, and then professional courtesy has to kick in. They're like, good stuff. Ulipata job, go do it. Of course, if you do a show, the job will roast you. Yeah, you'll be like, my brother, like you had a chance to do this job that most of us were denied the chance to do, and then you didn't ace it. Like, come on, my guy. Yeah, come on. So of course. But the bitterness, the fear of rejection, the rejection, like it's constant. You just learn how to deal with it quicker. Okay. You just don't let the feeling linger. Yeah, you be like, like that's what happened. Easy, cool. Yeah, no problem, no worries.
Now you've been in many. Now you've been in many roles. I mean, you've gone for more than 1,000 interviews, but I also think that you've been out of those 1,000 interviews. 1,000 auditions. You've also been able to be in, quite a good number of roles.
Oh, yes, I have.
In different films. Yeah. So I was gonna ask. Some of these roles, I think, are very complex personalities who are not who you are. So when you are getting ready for that role, do you have to? Is there anything that you normally do to get ready for a role? For a certain character, do you go and is there a ritual that you normally?
Most of the time, it's first of all is you have to understand where your character is coming from. Okay. You have to understand the environment that the character is written in. That environment in itself, like the cultural beliefs and the norms and the way of life of that environment, the psychology of the character. And the quality of interactions that he or she, or most of the time he has in his life, in his life. So like it's mostly psychological. So if I'm supposed to play, because most recently I've played a pastor. Yeah. And we've all been to church. We know a bunch of characters when it comes to pastors. So what I did for that role is I watched a lot of televangelism. I watched the energy that they use to approach the preaching.
What film is that?
It's called Shamba la Wanyama.
Okay, I've heard about it, but I haven't.
It's on View Sasa.
Okay.
You study these pastors. I didn't go to church per se because I knew going from church to church is going to take me time. And over the course of my lifetime, I've encountered quite a number of pastors, considering that I went to very deeply religious schools. I finished primary school in an SDA primary school. I went to high school in a Catholic high school.
Which primary school was that?
Omobera Primary School. Yeah.
I know that. I've heard about it. Yeah.
And then I finished my high school in Cardinal Otunga, which is deeply Catholic. Yeah. Mass every day, except one day of the week. So I know what Catholic pastors do. I know how boring SDA pastors are. I know how engaging these Protestant preachers are and how theatrical they are. And I've seen pastors prepare for sermons in Arboretum. Yeah. Like they usually go to Arboretum to prepare for sermons. Yeah.
Okay, like they're there talking to themselves.
They're preaching to the trees. Like you have to get the tonation right.
Okay.
Yeah, they speaking in tongues and stuff.
Interesting.
So and when
they're speaking in tongues to the trees.
Yeah, there's a time we used to do rehearsals for our traveling theater troupe in Arboretum. Yeah. And man, my guy, I used to look at these people and be like, these guys are better performers than we ever be. Yeah. It's like the proper theater of the absurd. And so I tapped into that, and I was like, you know what? All I know is, as a Protestant preacher, you have to be that person. You have to carry the persona, the aura, the charisma, the energy. So material for research is always around you. Yeah. YouTube has a plethora of material that you can use to research a character. Yeah. There's Vimeo, there's TikTok, there's Instagram. And then there's also practical, like you can actually go and see or turn on any other TV station, because the televangelism is a big thing right now. And half the TV stations on our TV are church TVs, So so you tap in there. Research is important. Yeah. Because you might run the risk of playing you.
You'll show up as a preacher, but the preacher doesn't have the spirit of a preacher.
Doesn't have the spirit of
Can't
a preacher.
speak in tongues.
And these tongues, I don't know if they guessed, but me, I guessed the hell out of these tongues, and they sounded proper.
Okay.
They sounded like, man, I was speaking in tongues.
Can you spit some tongues here right now?
Arriba baba. I've started. Yeah, that's the baseline, because all of them say the same thing. I heard Mr. Nganga say ribaba shakalaka. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just going too hard, rilala bobolo shakala sante, and then say your things over there, and people are convicted in the spirit. Because I mean, people who, it's unfortunate that the weak, the mentally weak in society are the ones who are easily gullible when it comes to these preachers who are out there to actually swindle people. There are people who are there to guide people spiritually, and there are people who are there for the show. Yeah,
and for the money too.
The money is the show, bro.
Oh, okay.
The money is the show. So there's that. So I got to understand these two sides of the spectrum. Yeah.
Would you start your own church?
Oh, for real? If I started my own church,
now that you've been a pastor somewhere,
maybe I'll have a crisis of consciousness.
Okay.
But if I wanted to do it, I would.
Yeah.
But
you don't have the right reasons right now to do it.
I don't have the right reasons to start a church or even to start preaching. I haven't had the calling, as they say.
Yeah.
I haven't been called yet. I don't know if it's a sound that you hear in your sleep. Ama unakaanga tu hivi unasikia Isaboke, we want you now to go preach and deliver the souls from evil. I don't know, because these pastors usually say it was a calling. But I don't know, maybe callings come in different way. And as long as my ancestors are cool with it, I'm cool with it. So still azimani nini.
The reason I'm asking that is because I'm wondering, after preparing for this role for a very long time and becoming a very good, preacher actor, isn't it possible that sometimes you get stuck in this role even beyond the screen or beyond the stage?
Oh yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
You can carry the spirit of the character everywhere you go. But that's why, I try most of the time not to practice the method acting, because method acting is highly immersive in that. So me and my friends have our own way of that we call the Katambe method, is learning the character and then
I heard Basil talk about it.
Katambe method. When we were doing Click Bang, we talked about it. For us, it's the Katambe method, man. Once the camera is cut, me, I'm back to being Isaboke.
Okay.
Because you have to really do a lot of soul searching, because as artists we usually have a lot of time to ourselves, and most of that time, you can scour the internet, you can try and distract yourself, but every once in a while you have to come and ground yourself and understand where it is you're coming from and where exactly it is that you're trying to go to. And I feel like personally as an actor, I've had time to do that. I know what Isaboke would do, and I know what Isaboke wouldn't do, but for most of these characters, I really don't know what exactly it is that they don't do, they won't do, or would do. So if a character demands me to go that extra mile, I would, as long as I'm not losing myself. I'm good for the performance. We are going there.
Have you found members of the audience who watched your films, and then you probably did something and you've played you've been a villain in films, right?
I've been a villain in a couple of films.
Did you ever find someone hating you for that?
Oh, plenty.
Okay.
Because there was this time, there was Maria was on Citizen. It was one of my most watched projects I've ever been in. There was a part of the show, there was this duration where me and my character and the love interest were going through a very strenuous time. And this girl kept on crying. And every time I'd meet mothers on the road, they'd be like, "Why are you making that girl cry that much?" Even my own mother forgot it was a show, and she was like, "Yo, this girl is crying too much. Do something about it." I'm like, "Mom, you of all people know that's not me. And that's not my mother. That's not, you are my mom. You're Isaboke's mom. That's the character." So sometimes it goes because Babu, like you said earlier, it plays to the human emotion, And sometimes I feel like the consciousness can't differentiate what's real and what's not. And if you get carried that much into it, you might tend to believe like that. Like everybody, when we were growing up, everybody hated Patience Ozoku, you know, because we thought she was this evil mommy that like terrorized villages and families, until I met Patience at KICC like a few years ago, and she was the sweetest mama I've ever met, and I was like, And then I remember, she's just an actor like you, so easy. So, and then also I did a show, it's also on Netflix, it's called Ayanle. I was playing a cop that was green but was a rookie, and had this like senior officer to him who was like bullying Somalis around Istili. So I've met one or two Somalis who are like,
you're not a good person.
You're harassing our boys in Istili. I'm like, it's just acting. So sometimes it blurs the lines between reality and TV. Yes, it blurs that line.
I was gonna also ask you if sometimes you've carried on the roles. For instance, when you are a cop and you went out on the street and you thought you are an actual cop, and you
there's this time a friend of mine did that. We were in a car. He had a big body, so he stopped. We were making jokes about being cops in the car. He stopped. Some boys were coming from Uhuru Park. There was a concert there. Like, natoka wapi? You got the ID. And then the way those boys were responding to it, I was like, yo, bro, they believe you. And he gave me like, tuitishe hongo. No, bro, don't do that. We've already scared them enough. And then I realized, like, actually, because he was also an artist, and you can carry the Nini home. And that's why Waiganjo was such a success, you know. You know the Waiganjo story. And also there's that reason why that guy who had opened up a police station somewhere in Rift Valley was also a success, because people are already scared, and considering the fact that the systems that the world is run on mostly is scare tactics. So if I scare you, chances are I'm gonna get what I want.
True.
Period.
I do agree with you. Now, when you have been, I think I've watched a bunch of your films. One of your films that I watched earlier on is 46. And I remember I actually paid for that film. Now, what did I do? So the film was not available in North America at that time. It was available in the Kenyan Netflix. And so I had to pay for a VPN. It's the first time that we paid for a VPN, and I've had the VPN ever since.
Not for free. When you're on the other side of the world, you gotta pay for that thing.
Well, I'm not sure if the free ones work well. I mean, I found one and I paid for it, and it's what I've been using ever since. And I watched it, and I feel like you probably didn't have a very major role in the film.
It was just it was a minor role. Like after the first 30 minutes, I was killed off. And from that film I knew that you were going places, and I've been watching you from there, and of course you probably don't remember this, but there's a short film that was called Where Flowers Bloom. That's the first time I ever did a wedding, man.
It was my film, and you were in it, and you were an excellent actor. So that I was a very pathetic producer, because the film never got any award or anything like that.
Don't worry about it, man. Like we all have those hard disk projects, man.
And then so now I was watching you in Click Click Bang. You are awesome in Click Click Bang. Man. You did a great job in Click Click Bang. But you seemed so evil, man, in that film. What did you use to prepare for that role?
It's make believe, man. You have to be like, the audience has to believe that you're that bad, man. It's like again, like I have friends in Kibra, and because considering that's where I grew up a larger chunk of my life, and preparing for that role is like, after we had gone for that table read, I knew this character. Immediately, because I knew, like, I've interacted with this character before. I've seen this character pale mtaani. So like one of those random days where you're chilling on the rocks, pale base, and then you realize, like, this person just came in and sat up. I was observing a few people. We were just telling each other stories. I'd never seen this guy, but most of the people up kwa base had seen him before. But when he came and sat down, I just looked at this guy. He had OCD, major OCD, and he had this aura of, like, just don't mess with me, And every time he talked, everyone else shut up to listen. And I was like, Kwani was this guy? So he sat there for like 30 minutes. I observed him. He was patient, well organized. Like anytime that will fall on him, he'll be one of those people who will be like, like Mandem was like, yo, this Mandem has swag.
Yeah.
So when he left, I asked my boy, yo, Timo, who's this guy? He proceeded to explain to me who this guy was. He was he had done time somewhere. But he's a reformed guy now. He's just a chill guy now. He just lives his life easy. And then I mixed whatever it is that I picked up from him with one or two other character traits of the guys I saw. Apoju, they are real bad men. In reality.
Yeah.
So I was like, correct. My assignment is done. Yeah. So when I got down to the playing of the character, also Abel and Phil and also Smalls, Phil and Smalls were directing the movie. So like, they really played a pivotal role in like in helping me shape that character. Because most of the time, the ideas that I had for myself or for the role that I was going to execute, every time I'd share the ideas with them, they'd be like, yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Because Abel also grew up in Kibra. I also, like, for most of my formative years, I grew up in Kibra. So, like, I know the characters of the people that walk on the streets every day. So, like, this person is a jambazi. I'd be like, oh, I didn't know. I know.
Yeah.
So you'd be like,
you'd connect the dots.
You'd connect the dots and like form patterns of behavior, and also considering that for every villain you see, for them, they are the hero of they are the hero of their own story.
Yeah.
Maybe for you they're the villain, but for them, they're the hero of that story because they believe in their cause.
Yeah.
And what's the purpose of a hero? For them, they're the hero. A hero goes on a journey and fulfills something. It might be negative for some people, but for him or her and other people, it's a positive story.
Yeah.
So that I feel like I tapped into that. And when I was doing it, of course, I was doubtful. I didn't know if I was nailing the role, but after every scene, the director kept saying like, yeah, anytime a director says sin, let's go to the next one, I usually am comfortable with the fact that they're happy with whatever it is that they got.
Yeah. And one thing that I've seen consistently over the past couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years, I feel like the movie scene industry or the filmmaking industry scene in Kenya is really booming.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the illegal money and then we'll be off.
What does that mean, illegal money?
Whatever it is they do, whatever it is that they do in established markets, we want that money too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just need to know that there's an industry here that's budding. All I'd want to say is like, you see, the internet has made things feel like they are close, like they are here.
Yeah.
Now we feel like we see Hollywood, we see the story, and then we feel like we can do what Hollywood is doing.
Yeah.
Hollywood has been doing whatever it is that they're doing for like 100 years now.
Yep.
And we're just starting, we're like barely 30 years old. And I feel like a studio system won't work for us right now. For right now, I feel like we just need to go full on guerrilla and make as much volume as we can, saturate our market. And right now, when I talk about market, I'm not talking about just Kenya.
Yeah.
I'm looking at East Africa as a whole, considering all the Swahili-speaking nations are there. And that's like 750 million people.
Yeah.
So if I make my film in Swahili, I'm 100% guaranteed of 750 million people. We just need to find existing ways and infrastructures of distribution and give them a push and make them a little bit robust, and produce volumes upon volumes upon volumes of material, so that to saturate market yetu with what is ours, choke not in a bad way, but we need to choke everything else that's coming from abroad.
Yeah.
The same way in Nigeria, if a Nigerian film is premiering today, Iron Man is not going to premiere today.
True.
Iron Man will wait. But here, if I want to premiere my film today, and Iron Man is premiering, my friend, I have to wait because Iron Man is premiering.
Yeah. And why do you think they do that?
It's the culture. Joab, growing up, we saw so many abroad movies. We didn't grow up with movies like watching our own actors on TV, like just a little fraction of our viewing time, because other than the fact that there was Tausi and Tahamaki and Isulisuli and those shows, it's really sad because we can only mention them on one hand or two hands. vis-a-vis other markets where they have a plethora, like a lot of shows that they consider theirs. And if you ask chances are if you ask an American about a British actor, unless they're Benedict Cumberbatch or Ralph Fiennes or any one of those British actors who have been in big, or Daniel Craig in big Hollywood productions, they don't know them. And chances are, Hollywood movies are known everywhere because they have the marketing power and the money to push them into every other market. Chances are, if you go to China, there are kids growing up who don't even know who the hell Will Smith is or Tom Cruise, or maybe if they've seen one or two of their projects, they still consume their own.
Chinese
considering
projects,
and also K-pop. Like the Korean dramas have really saturated the market. Korean actors are now being featured in Hollywood, in Hollywood movies, So I feel like it's up to us to saturate our market with our stories told by us the best way we know how to, because at the end of the day, a story is a story, and consumers will consume them. Case in point, TikTok. There's zero quality on TikTok, but those videos get crazy views. That means because it's a platform that's readily there. And the viewers are there waiting. Just depends on the format.
True.
If it's short format, they're there to watch. And most of these films are being broken into scenes and are being fed into the system.
And I think that is working.
It is.
Now that you're talking about this, I also feel like the quality of, even if we just say that the quality doesn't matter, I feel like the quality of our filming has also improved greatly.
Oh, it has greatly. The style of doing it is what we're currently trying to figure how to. But when it comes to quality, world class. Because what are they using in Hollywood? Aries, Reds. We have them. People are shooting with all these commercials you see on TV are being shot on Ari, Red Dragon or Komodos or Ari, whatever is Sony's top of the biggest cameras that are here. Our skill to handle those cameras has been developed. Netflix has I think the first batch of graduates who were studying production at ADMI are almost graduating, or if not have graduated, So the skill is there, and the industry, the government is really trying to do their best. They could do better. They could do more.
What do you think they should do?
Government. Policy.
What policy what particular policy would you like them to implement?
It's a budding industry. Let it breathe.
And do you feel like right now they have their foot on the neck of the
They are
industry?
really trying to give some reliefs here and there. But also, you have the kitu kidogo culture in Kenya. Everywhere you're trying to do a project, someone somewhere along the line of public officials will come for their kitu kidogo. And that has probably meant that we've lost some projects to South Africa or other African countries that are receptive and are willing to let foreign investors bring work and employ your people. Because I feel like art, and to be specific, filmmaking is one of those things that if government actually paid attention to, could employ a lot of youth. Because when you look at a proper Hollywood production, you'll find that movie has employed over 500 people, and that's just a single picture. So let's say if we had 100 pictures coming out of Kenya every year, 100 times 500.
That's great money.
50,000 people.
Great money for the economy also coming back.
50,000 people employed every year. You imagine if Kasongo can stand somewhere and say we have funded 100 movies in the creative sector, and that means these movies calculations have been done and people can be employed at a certain wage for a certain period of time. That means there's money running around the economies. Instead of them hiding their monies in the Cayman or in Panama or whichever Swiss bank accounts that they're hiding their money in, they could just come and pump it into the creative industry and we'll be well on our way.
True, and I do agree with you too. I going back to what we said about the quality, I feel like now we have all this great equipment and
great people to work those equipment.
Exactly,
the skill is level.
Because my worry was that folks would have the equipment but not know how to use them.
We're even exporting labor to Nigeria.
Which is a great thing. When I was preparing for this project, I was actually asking myself, where did I feel I shoot in 24 frames per second. And so I asked myself, why do I shoot in 24 FPS? And I mean, most of my life I've shot films or videos in 24 FPS. And I learned something. Did you know that there is something connected between this and our brains?
24 frames?
Yeah. Apparently, your brain is able to hold on to an image for a fraction of a second. So, and that fraction is a 25th of a second. So that is the reason why we take 24 pictures per second, because those then will hold on to
the
our brains long
longer.
enough for us to perceive motion. So our brain is able to connect these images together and then create some sort of motion.
Yeah, it's like the Walt Disney like posters, like the original animations. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, okay.
Yeah, if we had this at 20 frames per second or 20 frames per second or 10 frames per second, then we would see these connections between those images and we wouldn't see a continuous video or continuous motion.
It would be distorted.
It would be distorted and discontinuous. I learned that and I felt that was interesting. And I feel like now we are at a point where we have all this equipment where we can, actually compete with the rest of the world.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
If it's a proper drama, and we're competing.
Yeah.
Maybe we're probably beaters, and I think it's like there is skills that are still being developed. Like there's the stunts, and maybe kidogo CG.
Yeah.
But we have Kenyans working in these established markets. Like we have Kenyans that working at Disney. We have Kenyans working at Pixar. We have Kenyans working at name any proper production house, and I believe there's Kenyans working there.
Yeah.
And I believe most of the time, sometimes it's not even for the lack of the funding or anything. Not for the lack of skill. It's lack of the money that's required for someone to give their skill to you.
Yeah.
Because if it's animation, it's a lot of time. Like someone is spending in front of the screen trying to make that cartoon smile and stuff, and match the lips and do all the wonderful work that animators do. I feel like it takes time even to work on a 1 minute, 2 minutes piece of animation and even render it.
Yeah.
Like it's the tunes, like the skill is there, the equipment is there. Now we need the money to run the logistics of the same,
Yeah.
True. That's what we got. Because I believe in that money is in Kenya, bana. We don't have
the
to
money
go.
is there.
The money is there. It's the use.
Yeah. There's the money. You've been in this industry for a couple of years. I mean, you say 12 years.
12 years now, yeah.
There's somebody right now who's, at their 0 year trying to get to your 12 years. So if you were to go back to your first year in the industry, what do you know now that you would tell the Mr. Nyakundi Isaboke of 12 years ago? Or what advice would you give to your younger self in this industry?
Consistency, man. For anything, like being disciplined and consistent. Like there are places that I feel like if I was a little bit more consistent, I would have arrived to that destination a little bit more quicker. Or some things that I did later on I could have done earlier.
Yeah.
That consistency, and man, you just have to believe in yourself no matter what. Fall down 3 times, wake up 4.
Yeah.
Like that's probably the best piece of advice I can tell someone, to like keep going. Like if someone shuts that door, go knock that window. If they knock that window, man, pull a nail from the roof, man. Jump in. Like find a way. If you can't join that table, go make your own table. Because right now we have social media. If you're not on traditional TV, look for your friends and do YouTube.
Yeah.
Do TikTok, do Instagram. Like I feel like all formats have an audience right now.
Yeah.
Like even if you're doing short format for Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts, if you're doing long formats, because look, Akina Butita are doing YouTube.
Yeah.
Akina YY, Akina Terence, Akina Awinja. YouTube is probably like now, because now I feel like artists make money when the art meets a corporate.
Yeah.
Because corporate has the money. The artists have the viewers.
Yeah.
And that connection in there is where now the money happens.
Yep.
So if everyone can crack that formula, because hata mimi ndo formula najaribu kucrack right now, so that I can find a way where I can fund my projects directly using that corporate money.
Yeah.
because that's what broadcasters have finessed and finally learned, because they've known how to leverage corporate money so that they can sell their airtime through these artists through the art that they put on their platforms. And I feel like that's an open formula that anyone can learn and create upon it, you know. So I feel like it's an open field. Run and get yours.
Nyakundi, have you ever felt like quitting? What kept you going?
Yeah, I felt like quitting a lot of times, but the fact that my parents gave me that go ahead, my dad told me, you go do what it is that your heart desires, because I don't want you to wake up one day and feel like we told you to do something that you didn't want to do. So that promise that I made to them, that this is what I want to do and I know I'm going to be successful at it, keeps me going. And the fact that if I stop right now and start something else, it will still take me time to master that thing and put food on the table using that thing. So I'd rather just keep going. And as I go, I know during my free time I can still learn other skills that I can use to better push myself and elevate my craft to better standards. Or I struggle with the questions of why, you know, like why are we even here? Why are you even doing what we are doing? So the answer to that keeps me going is just keep doing. You don't know. Nobody knows. So I just keep doing it, and by virtue that it makes me feel happy, it conflicts, it brings conflicts within me, and the fact that sometimes I feel like I don't even know what I'm doing. It feels new to me every day, so I still have that sense of wonder, like, wow, am I still doing it? Am I doing it right? Like, Nabant, what's happening? So that sense of wonder just keeps me going. You know, like, what is there? What are the possibilities? I mean, to what end could we do it? And what's the best thing we could ever probably do? I mean, it's, and the fact that I gotta eat, man, that's money cooler. So that keeps me going.
True. You know, every time that I have a guest sitting here on the show, I treat them like presidents and kings and queens. And I have this tradition that I do that is borrowed from the United States. So in the US, when the new president is coming into office, they normally write a letter for the next president who's going to be in the office. So what I do here is, when there's a guest on the show, they normally leave a question for the next guest on the show. So the question that I just asked you right now was left to you by the guest who was here yesterday on the show. And so I'm going to give you an opportunity to also write a question for the guy who's going to be seated where you're seated next. So take some time and think about it, and then
I don't have to think. I know.
And write the question. Normally, I don't see the question until the guest is seated right here before me. All right. Nyakundi, thank you for hanging out with me today. As you've been seated here, I've asked you a bunch of things and we've had a great chat. Is it possible that there is something that you wanted to say and I haven't given you opportunity to say it, or something you just thought about that you wouldn't love to leave this seat without saying it? If there's something like that, take this opportunity and say it.
What I'd say is, I tell people not to be scared to think, because that's where you find the answers.
That's it?
That's it. Like, usiwaiogopa kufikiria. Don't be scared to think.
True.
Because thinking can be scary. And with that statement is why I understand why an architect is paid more than the person who does the day laboring. You think about the ins, the outs, the plumbing, the electric, the plastering, the layering and everything, even the outlook. They see it before they do it. So don't be scared to think. Think it through. Think again. And just keep thinking. You'll always find an answer.
Those are very wise words, Ian. Man, thanks for coming out and hanging out with us on the Couch Connect today.
For sure.
We really appreciate you. And, I feel like we didn't have enough time today. So we're going to redo this again sometime. And,
you let me know the next time you're in the country and then we see what's up.
Yeah, true, man. Folks, if you made it this far, it probably means that you did like this show. if you haven't subscribed to this podcast yet, do subscribe to our channel and like this episode. And don't forget to tell your friends to tell their friends. This has been The Couch Connect. I've been hanging out with Ian Nyakundi Isaboke today, greatest actor in the country of Kenya. Till next time, do take care. Kwaheri.